Hello and welcome to the National Leadership Briefing. My name is Doug Sharp and I will be your host for today. Well, 2021 is drawing to a close. It is December and we are looking ahead to 2022, and we're excited because of all of the things we've done this year to prepare for next year. But there are challenges before us that we're going to be talking about today, and the tone might just get a little bit more intense because you know me, I'm not the kind of guy that believes that we should get hyperbolic and light our hair on fire and get all overly emotional excited, but there is a need for us to amp up the conversation. So we're going to be doing that today here on the National Leadership Briefing. We've got many things to cover. The agenda, let's take a quick look at it here, and then we'll take a quick look at our O Canada video to remind ourselves of our love of our country. But first, let's look at the agenda. First, we've got the Getting Started Right videos. I want to make sure that I draw your attention to the source of where they are. We also want to do a bit of a narration about the times that we are in and that intensity that I'm talking about that we're facing now with the decisions before us. Things are moving faster and we do need to pick up our pace a bit. We're going to be focusing some time today on, again, looking at the priorities and how to train ourselves to only look at the things in front of us that we believe need our attention. And then we're going to move right into a conversation about the opportunity that we have before us to select who could become the next Prime Minister of Canada. Now, for those of you who have been on the briefing for a while, we had this same opportunity not so long ago, and we had just a wonderful time getting together and exercising our combined influence. Well, we might have that opportunity again. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to take a quick look at the throne speech and some of the tools that are available out there for us that we can capitalize on, we can gather up and use to make our jobs easier on the road ahead. And then we're going to finish up with a conversation about what I'm calling today the anatomy of a personal medical decision. That is the anatomy of a personal medical decision. What is it that makes up what are the components of a personal medical decision as part of a personal health care plan? And of course, I'm relating that directly to where we're at these days with the health crisis that we're facing with the vaccinations, COVID-19 vaccine mandates, all of those conversations we're going to be having today, but we're going to be looking through the lens of the personal medical decision and when we're talking about that. So let's have a quick look at this, remind ourselves about how much we love this country, and we'll come right back and get started. Bye for now. Well, welcome back. Let's get started. Okay, so getting started right. The first item on the agenda today, of course, that's the best place to talk about getting started right, is right at the very beginning, because on every one of our briefings, we have brand new people that have been invited to join us today. Welcome to all of you. I hope you enjoy your time here with us today. We're going to be dedicating 1 hour to focusing on rallying around the things that we believe in and learning to developing the habit of speaking with a unified voice when we see opportunities present themselves on the horizon for us to do so. or when we see threats on the horizon that we need to prepare for and brace for. So this is what we come together for. We're glad that you're here, joining your voice to ours. Now, when I talk about getting started right here on the National Leadership Briefing, I'm always going to direct your attention back to the National Leadership Briefing website, because on our website at nlbcanada.ca, that's again, nlbcanada.ca, you will find all of the previous briefings that you have missed up until this time. And now, obviously, there's hours and hours of content there. We've got all of what we call our midweek touch points that are there as well. But I want to direct your attention to the website, because there on the website, there are also valuable resources for the brand new person that joins us on the National Leadership Briefing, resources that will help you to clarify in your own mind and heart as to how the National Leadership Briefing fits in to your activist lifestyle, because we are wanting to mobilize you. We want to put you into action, and we want to make sure that you've got all of the resources to be effectively communicating your views and values into your community, but also rallying people along with us around the things that we believe in, which of course we're referring to the 4 pillars. So let me take your attention directly to the website right now. I want to show you one piece in particular of the website that you really need to know, not only as a new person, but if you have not done this in a while and want to refresh yourself as to why it is that we come together and what it is we rally around. Let's have a look at the website on this one particular part, and I'll show you exactly where it is that we can find some great information for you to review. Okay, well, here we are on the National Leadership Briefing website. As you can see on the website here, there is the register button there. That is a fantastic button for you to become familiar with, of course, because as you refer friends and family and neighbors and other people who share your views and values to the National Leadership Briefing, it is here on this website at nlbcanada.ca where they can register to join the next briefing themselves. But again, today, what I want to point out to you is to make sure that you're aware of what we call the NLB Essentials link. Across the top of the page there on the menu bar, you'll see where it says NLB Essentials. And when you click on that link, up comes the training videos. There are videos here that give you all of the information you need to get a really good head start on what happens here on the National Leadership Briefing. We've got something called Horizon training. We've got U training. Now that defines where you're at and how it is that you interact with people around you. We've got Sphere Authority training and a 4-pillar video. So I encourage you, please start there. These videos are not long, but they will give you an excellent head start to remind yourself, like I say, if you've been on the briefing for a while, but to remind yourself as to what our objectives are and why it is we do what we do here on the National Leadership Briefing. Now, I wish we had time on every National Leadership Briefing to actually play one of the NLB Essential videos. For example, the 4-pillar training video. It's a fantastic video that talks about our common belief that parents have the right to raise their children the way they want, that it is our right of belief and freedom of religion that must be respected and defended by those we elect to serve us in civil government. It is a statement of the fact that we believe that civil government must pass laws that provide for the safety and security of citizens, especially the vulnerable that live among us. And of course, our 4th pillar that we rally around here on the briefing is that it is inappropriate for civil government to continue to heap debt upon the backs of our children and future generations. So I wish I could actually share these videos with you every single time, but I really need you to take it upon yourself to spend that little extra of your own time off briefing, just preparing and getting yourself familiar with the information. So I hope that part is helpful for you. If you have any questions, obviously, please get in touch with us. But I think you're going to find that's an awful lot of really good information for you. Okay, now where I wanted to start today beyond that is I wanted to bring to your attention the time that we are living in. If you are not aware of it, if you have been just unaware of the fact that things are moving very quickly upon us, us that our nation is changing, the world is changing very quickly. What it is I'd like to bring to your attention is that the speed with which we are responding needs to amp up. We need to pick up our speed, pick up our game, if you so as to speak. And it's just because, again, of the pace of change that is happening with us. If you take a look at Parliament, for example, here in our nation, our current federal government has a very, very specific agenda to transform our nation. It is very clear when you see the things that they're working on, the changes that they're making, the continuing to spend money that we do not have on things we do not need. It's incredible that the type of things that we're experiencing here in our nation. But we need to be engaged and to stand in opposition and have a better plan to propose. But we need to come together to do that, because this is a very powerful force that's moving against us. Our individual voices are powerful, yes, but when we come together, what we need to do is we need to continually grow our influence so that we can combat this wave of change that's coming upon us. That is not a positive one. I think you'll agree. So this is what I'm going to suggest that you do, is make a personal decision. It really is time to decide. For those of you who've been on the briefing for a while, you know, I'm not, again, going to get all hyperbolic and things, but I am going to just press you a little harder that if you have not been building your own personal sphere of influence, if you have not been contacting people around you and bringing to their attention that there is a wave of change coming upon us, and it is not positive, if you've not been referring people to the National Leadership Briefing and giving them an opportunity to add their voice to ours as we see those opportunities evolve, and where we can actually speak with a unified voice and have great influence, if you haven't been doing that, I'm going to urge you to please do not wait any longer to get started. Start making those referrals as soon as possible, because our voice needs to be loud and it needs to be strong at this very important time here in Canada. Now, we're going to be talking about some of the opportunities that we've got ahead of us that are coming up, but we're going to be also talking about some threats. And again, I'm going to be introducing tools. As you watch this video today, I want you to think about it as you're watching. Just go, is this a video that I can actually share with my friends and family to introduce them to the National Leadership Briefing? You can tell them all about what we do. Maybe you go to the NLB Essentials page and you actually look at some of the videos there, the Getting Started Right videos that you can share with them. But I urge you, please do not delay, because the parliamentary session is in right now. The opportunities are coming at us right now. The threats are upon us. They're right at our door, and we need to be in action right now, not inactive, but we need to be taking action right now. So very, very much want to encourage you to do that. And we will talk about our priorities right up now that are coming up, so that you're going to see some of the things that we're working on, and that'll help encourage you even more, I'm sure, because it really is exciting what we can do when we all speak together. So let's have a look at this quick video and then come back, and I want to just review some of the priorities that we have in front of us, some of the opportunities, some of the threats, and then you can use that again to take to your friends and family and say, look, we got to do something. We got to get moving on all of this. And I hope that's helpful. Thanks so much. Watch this video. We'll be right back with you in a moment. Bye for now.
The bear has been poked. It's time to wake up from our slumber
and stand together, united as one. One family, one body, one church.
We will not walk past the vulnerable.
Say nothing, do nothing, and turn a blind eye.
We are citizens of a great nation.
We are good Samaritans to our neighbors. You are not alone.
We are the largest unified voice in Canada. So we stand united. This is our rally cry. We are Christ to our nation. This is our battle cry. He shall have dominion from sea to sea and from the river unto the ends of the earth. Righteousness will reign. Justice will prevail. We are united.
Okay, let's talk about priorities. Now, priorities are something that someone has to decide on. Someone somewhere has to say, this is what it is that we're going to be focusing on. And so just so that there is a very, very clear map in front of you as to what it is we consider to be priorities here on the National Leadership Briefing, let me take a moment to just let you know how we identify them here. So if you watch the Horizon video in the NLB Essentials, the very first video you'll see there is called Horizon Training. So very first thing that we do here on the National Leadership Briefing is we divide all opportunities to take action, to have our voices heard, to speak with a unified voice, whatever it is that we actually move forward on is either broken down into one of two categories. It is either an opportunity for us to speak, or it is a threat. Now, when I say an opportunity for us to speak, I'm talking about an opportunity for us to advance the things that we believe in, the principles that undergird the four pillars. So we are constantly scanning the horizon, thus it's called the Horizon video. So scanning the horizon, looking for those opportunities for us to advance the things that we believe in. We also see things coming at us that are threats. And we had identified in last month's National Leadership Briefing, if you tune into the November National Leadership Briefing, we actually broke down a bunch of the opportunities and threats into two columns on our boardroom, or our board in the boardroom. So if you wanted to look at the November briefing, you'll see them all there. But let me give you examples. One is the legislative agenda of our current federal Liberal government. Much of it is very threatening to us and the things that we believe in. If you take a look at the budget from April, for example, and you review the government's plan for $100 billion in new spending, you can clearly see that this is a contradiction to what we believe in. It is inappropriate for civil government to spend money that will become debt that is heaped upon the backs of our children and future generations. So we consider that a threat when we see those kinds of things coming. The legislative agenda that has just been introduced again into the House of Commons for this fall session leading up to the break at Christmas. And it is a threat. I have to tell you, like I said, I'm not going to get all jacked up here, but I'm telling you that is a threat that is at our door. Now, the opportunity, let me give you an example of an opportunity. We have a desire to have the greatest amount of influence we can in all political parties. Some political parties present more opportunities than other, and one political party in particular has given us the opportunity to operate within and speak with a unified voice and exercise our rights as members. And we've been doing a great job of growing the influence we have within that party. But we have another opportunity to do that much more in that party coming up ahead of us. And we talked about that last month, and that is possibly installing who could become the next prime minister of our nation by installing a new leader within the Conservative Party of Canada. And we talked about why that was a situation or a possible opportunity that is before us last month. And now here we are in December, and it appears as though we now do in fact have the opportunity where we could have a new leader elected within that party. Well, if they do that, if the members do decide that they want to move forward with that, we want to be there front and center. We want to participate in that process, and we want to make sure that the person that is elected to that position, the highest office in opposition in our nation, that's her Majesty's loyal opposition right now in the House of Commons, then who could become the prime minister. We want to have that person willing to represent our views and values or share our views and values in the House of Commons and in government. So we want to be there to influence that decision. So let's take a quick look at one of the tools that we've used in the past, a website that we have launched in the past that we're going to be relaunching again now, and then we're going to get into defining how it is that this opportunity to influence the outcome of the selection of this new leader, what it might look like immediately in front of us. And I'll give you some details, but let's first take a look at this conservativeupdate.com video to remind ourselves of the kinds of things that we can have influence doing within the political parties of our nation. Okay, so that's conservativeupdate.com. That is where you're going to see the plan executed for participating in the process of selecting a new leader for the Conservative Party of Canada and all other opportunities. The way we've got it set up is we've got liberalupdate.com that is we're working on right now on launching to have influence within that party. We've got other websites for other parties, but the conservativeupdate.com website is the one we use to help identify the current leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. And again, maybe not everybody was as excited about the outcome. I know some were disappointed because the person they wanted or the people they wanted weren't elected, but we all participated. We all came together. We all spoke with a unified voice and we all had a vote. We just didn't have enough of them. So this time we're going to have enough of them. But so look to that website in the future as you see that plan roll out. Now, in the meantime, let's remind ourselves about what the opportunity is. Last month, I had a quick conversation with Scott from Right Now. It Starts Right Now as the organization. And Scott just laid out why it is there might be an opportunity. And if there is an opportunity for that leader to be replaced, then what is the process? So let's just remind ourselves quickly about what Scott shared with us about the possibility and how that might work if the Conservative Party were to open up a leadership review process. Any other opportunities that you can see? I know there's a lot of people that came out of the election that were kind of concerned about the direction the leader took the Conservative Party, and they're asking the question, are there opportunities out there? I mean, is there a chance that we'll have a new leader of that party in the short term, or is there something that is a process that we could be preparing for?
Yeah, there's different ways within the Conservative Party of Canada. Each political party has their own methodologies in terms of dealing with leadership, whether it be reviews or replacements or what have you. So within the Conservative Party of Canada, there's a few different avenues if there is a need of a change of leadership. First and foremost, the easiest and quickest, of course, is if a leader resigns. You know, a leader says, you know what, I've done what I've taken this as far as I could, and I think now is a good opportunity for someone else to step in and see what they can do. One of the other ways is something called the Reform Act. And what the Reform Act allows for is after each election, when a caucus of a party, so a caucus is all the senators and members of parliament of a particular political party, get together for their first caucus meeting, which they usually have about once a week when the House is sitting, and the Senate as well when Parliament's sitting. The very first caucus meeting, they get to vote on whether or not they want to give themselves as caucus certain powers and certain privileges. And then another thing that they give themselves the power for, and the Conservative Party of Canada did this, and it's the first time this ever been done since the Reform Act was passed almost 10 years ago, is they have the ability to also recall the leader. So if 20% of caucus members sign a public letter that's then posted online for at least 48 hours present, there will then be a vote, a secret ballot vote by all members of caucus. And if 50% plus one vote to recall the leader, then that leader is no longer leader of the party, and then immediately there would be a leadership election review. So that's one avenue. And then a third and kind of final avenue is within the Conservative Party of Canada, there's something called a referendum. So if 5% of party members, so you have to be a party member for at least 21 days, sign on to a petition in at least 5 provinces or territories, so 5% in those provinces or territories, then within a 90-day period, then you take that to National Council. National Council then must have a referendum on that question from that petition within 120 days from receiving and accepting a valid petition. Right. And then at that referendum, it's open to all members of the party. You just need to be a member of the party for 21 days. Right. And then if 2/3 of those party members vote, or 1/3 vote and 2/3 vote in favor of the referendum, then that referendum question is binding. So if you have a referendum question saying, you know, should we have a leadership review, or should we immediately begin the leadership selection process for the party, and 2/3 of party members vote yes in that, then that is actually binding upon the party.
Okay, so Scott told us, he let us know that there is a process. It's within the rules of the party. All parties have these constitutions and rule books, and within that party, there are processes that are in place that if the members do want to have a review of the leadership and they feel that that's necessary to do so, then they can enter into this very well-defined process. Well, it looks like, and we mentioned this last month on the briefing again, as I said, it's probably going to happen because I'm hearing an awful lot of grumbling within the ranks about the dissatisfaction from of the current leader of the party. So I said we should be preparing, we should be getting ready. Let's look on the horizon. If this opportunity comes up, then we should be capitalizing on it and mobilizing, which is what has happened since the last national leadership briefing. There has been a petition process launched by a senator in the Conservative Party. Now, I'm going to just play a quick video of the senator's comments. She posted a quick video that kind of explains what it is that she's doing, what her motives and intents were, and she kind of lays out the process a little bit. But we'll get into that in more detail after this quick video that tells you a little bit about what her mind is on replacing the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada.
I'm Senator Denise Batters, and I'm launching a petition so that our party members can have their say on the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada. I've been a Conservative my whole life. I came from the PC side of the party, and like so many others, I worked hard to help merge the Canadian Alliance and PC parties into our winning Conservative Party movement. On behalf of Conservative activists and members from coast to coast, we started this petition because we don't want to see this party ripped apart again. When we're divided, the Liberals win. Under Erin O'Toole's leadership, the rift in our party is growing. He told us this is not your grandfather's Conservative Party and warned campaigning MPs they must agree 100% with his new direction, which constantly changes, or get out of caucus. As leader, Mr. O'Toole has watered down and even entirely reversed our policy positions without the input of party or caucus members. On carbon tax, on guns, on conscience rights. He flip-flopped on our policies within the same week, the same day, and even within the same sentence. He won the leadership claiming to be true blue, but ran an election campaign nearly indistinguishable from Trudeau's Liberals. We can't afford more of the same. Erin O'Toole lost this election by every measure. Our party lost 500,000 votes, claimed fewer seats and a lower popular vote than in 2019. We lost diverse seats and MPs in the GTA, Alberta, and in Vancouver's suburbs. Mr. O'Toole's inability to communicate or connect with female voters left us with an even wider gender gap. Erin O'Toole lost a trust election to Justin Trudeau, of all people. This campaign was not lost because of Mr. O'Toole's mistakes or inexperience. It was lost because of what Canadian voters perceive as his character flaw, that he is not trustworthy. You can't come back from that. Erin O'Toole lectured our party members on election night, telling us we need to have the courage to change. Into what, he hasn't yet said. But members deserve to have a say on this change and the future direction of this party, including our leadership. Fellow Conservative Party members, join me in signing this petition and make your voice heard.
Okay, that was a very clearly articulated video. Her concerns are quite clear, and you might share some of them. Now, I want to point out here that I'm very conscious of the fact that in our audience, the people that we serve here on the briefing, you might be new to all this. You may not have any prior experience with engaging in the processes of a political party. Some of you may have no experience with even buying a membership or having a membership in a party, but I just want to clarify something for you. You may not have any knowledge or understanding of what it is that we're proposing you engage in now, but I'm going to ask you to take a walk of faith with us and just trust that we are not taking you into a bad place. This is something that is very easily managed in your hands, what we're proposing that you do from here on in. As a brand new person, talk to the person who introduced you to the National Leadership Briefing if you have concerns, but we are suggesting to you that you engage in the processes of a political party because these individuals are key, especially when we start talking about engaging in a process that could elect the leader of a political party that could become the next Prime Minister of Canada. So trust the briefing, or trust the person that introduced you to the briefing, but stay with us. Now, those people who are not knowledgeable or have a membership right now, it's stated in the beginning, because Scott said that only members that have been members for 21 days can participate in this petition signing process. So if you think, oh, well, I'm already disqualified, wait a second. What we want you to do is, effective immediately, we want you to go and get your membership in this party, because what's going to happen is that petition is going to be out there for a 90-day period. And then there's going to be a cutoff, and then it's going to go to National Council. And then if National Council then launches a referendum, then you can participate in the future parts of the process. This is a process that is going to be laid out over a period of time. And the sooner you get your membership in the Conservative Party of Canada, the sooner you're going to be able to begin engaging in the process and speaking with this voice that you have as a party member. We're in fact purchasing authority for $15. That's really what you're doing if you want to look at it that way. But again, for those people who are members right now, the other part of the audience that we're serving here, I just want you to be clear, is that you have an opportunity to decide for yourself. I'm not going to tell you to engage in this process. If you don't agree with Denise Batters, then don't sign the petition, but go to membersvote.ca. Go to that website that she set up. Ask yourself if you're satisfied with this performance of the current leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. And if you want to sign the petition and encourage this leadership review process to kick off, then make sure that you get that done right away. Now, if you know any other Conservative Party members, spread this word out, share this video, share the membersvote.ca with your immediate sphere of influence. Like I say, I've encouraged you all to build that local sphere of influence of your own, in your own community, with people that share your views and values and look for these opportunities. Well, here's one of them, and you could share this information and get them to sign the petition again. Again, all the petition is saying is that they want to have a referendum sent out to the members and have it communicated to the leader of their concerns. Like, the leader is going to get this message that there's a large percentage of the membership that are concerned about the direction that he has taken in this past election, and that they might be drifting further to the middle or whatever their concerns are. But make sure you participate immediately. That's key. Okay, so if you're not a member now, you're going to become a member. And if you are a member, then you're going to sign the petition, or at least consider signing the petition. Okay, so that is the opportunity that's before us. That is the one that you want to be focused on. Now, I'm going to just add one last example for you, because I think it's important that we understand that there are distractions along the way. As you and I are looking for these opportunities or identifying these threats, there's going to be other things chirping in your ear, of things that drag you off. And one of the main things that I've spoken about before on midweek touch points is I've issued this warning to everybody to please encourage the people that you know to avoid the legacy media and the daily habit of consuming nightly news or morning news. This is one of the most dangerous things I've seen to us achieving our goals, is people getting distracted and their attention being yanked away with what I call pablum or poison. That is the only thing that you're going to be delivered up in your morning daily consumption of news network news. That if you're looking at CBC, CTV, and you're just like gobbling it up as they're shoveling it out, then you are either consuming pablum, things that are not important, that you don't need to know about, that are cluttering up your head, or you're consuming poison, which is very well crafted tracks, language tracks, and very carefully calculated scripts that are drawing you further and further away from the truth and taking action. They could be delivering things that want to create a level of hopelessness in you, or a level of frustration that make you get frustrated and walk away. Please, I encourage you, it is so well calculated and so cleverly contrived that it is doing you harm. It's either giving you something you don't need if it's pablum, or doing you harm as poison. So please take that encouragement from me, and let's focus on the signal and get the noise and those distractions out of our head. Well, I hope that's helpful for us. Look in the post-briefing notes today. I'm going to include the link to Denise Batter's website, membersvote.ca. I want you to participate. I'm also going to include the membership link for the Conservative Party of Canada. So if you do not have an active membership in the Conservative Party, that goes out for at least another year, because this is a process you're going to want to have at least a year's membership, because this is a process you're going to be able to actively engage in ongoingly. So go do that as well. And then we will make sure that as we all come together, and as this opportunity, if it presents itself, where we can choose the next leader of this political party, someone who could become the Prime Minister of our nation, we're there ready to respond and ready to take action. And it'll be something that's so easy to do, because we're going to be biting this off, consuming this one bite at a time. It's not going to be a whole bunch of work for you. It's just going to mean you just got to follow along and trust the plan. Trust the plan and what we're laying out here on the National Leadership Briefing, and trust your friend who introduced you to the briefing itself. Well, okay, so let's move on. One last thing for today I wanted to cover, and that is I wanted to go over what I call the anatomy of a personal medical decision as part of a personal health plan. But we'll get to that right after this video. These are the things that we believe in. First, that parents have the right to raise their children the way they want. Second, that those we elect to serve us in civil government must respect and defend our right of belief and freedom of religion. Number three, that the laws and policies of civil government must provide for the safety and security of the citizens, especially the vulnerable among us. And number four, that it is inappropriate to heap debt upon the backs of our children and future generations. They came from you. They're your pillars. They're the things that you believe. You know, I really am excited about any opportunity we have to advance those principles that undergird the four pillars, because one thing I'm sure you found too, for anyone who shared the four-pillar video or spoken to people about the authority of parents being preserved to raise their children the way they want, for example, or just the importance of not having government overspend and burying our kids in debt. I mean, these are very popular conversation items, and we just are so excited to have the opportunity to work with you to advance them in your own community. So thank you so much for letting us share that video. And I'll make sure again, that's always going to be on the NLB Canada website. Those NLB Essential videos are always going to be there for you. So please feel free to download them and share them with other people and invite them to join us. Okay, now we're going to finish up today here with one thing that I'm kind of excited about this part of it, because it's such a big conversation that is taking place right now about vaccine mandates. Now, we did do a midweek touch point once before where I clarified that, look, I'm not talking about your own personal decision to actually get vaccinated. That is a conversation you're going to have with your doctor. That is a conversation that you are going to evaluate on your own. But when the vaccine mandate question came in, that's when somebody now decides, not for themselves, but they start deciding for other people that they are going to be required to get the vaccination. And that was a concern. So we wanted to take a moment here today and just review what exactly are the components of a personal healthcare decision. When someone makes a personal healthcare decision, now, because I don't want to be presumptuous and assume that your process in making a personal healthcare decision is the same as mine, I'll actually use myself as an example. So what I'm going to do is I'll just go through just some of the questions that popped up in the making of my own personal healthcare decision when it came to getting vaccinated and participating in the daily, I guess, fear mongering and everything else that came up, because I really did, just to stay healthy, I really had to take a sincere look at where I was at and what this risk was to me. And that really is the first thing, the first component of the personal health care decision. Again, I'm not being presumptuous. I'm speaking for myself. So please don't get offended if you don't agree with the way that I arrived at my own personal decision. But this is an example of an anatomy of the anatomy of my own personal healthcare decision. Okay, so first off, assessing the threat. That is exactly what I went to work doing immediately upon hearing that there was this new virus that it was out there, and people were telling me it was really scary and we needed to pay attention to it. Then I started seeing people get sick, and there started to be like data started flowing, and data started flowing at in such a way, and we're really blessed to have at our fingertips just an abundance of data sources. And of course, you'll want to make sure that you're going through the right sources and you're getting good information. And I stumbled around, I'll admit, for the first little while. I actually wasn't sure whether I was on the right page or whether I was listening to someone who was a whack job, or maybe somebody else that didn't know anything but sounded like they knew something. So, I mean, probably just like you, it was a little complicated in the beginning. And I have to tell you, in the beginning as well, when I didn't understand the threat, during that period of time when the risk was undiscernible, I could not assess it. I couldn't evaluate the level of risk. I was hunkered down. I mean, I was literally hunkered down, and we had made changes here in the office. And so my personal healthcare decision began with an assessment of the threat level of what was coming at me. And then got to tell you, maybe I did a pretty good job of that, because in my line of work, I'm assessing threat levels all the time. Like when things are coming at me, they aren't always coming at me to kill me, but they are often coming at me to harm me or silence me. That's pretty regular. I get that quite a bit. So first off, assessing the threat level. The next thing that I did was I wanted to understand my own personal vulnerability. So where was I vulnerable, and what was it? So if I understand what it is that's coming at me, and then I immediately turn my attention to how I'm vulnerable to the attack of this thing, then I felt more comfort. I would have a better understanding as to how I could then make my decisions moving forward. So I focused on my vulnerabilities. Do I have any comorbidities, for example? And I'd love to tell you that, but that's personal. I assessed that, though. I assessed whether I had them or not. And then after I assessed my own personal vulnerabilities, I immediately turned my attention to whether I could bolster or immunize myself to help compensate for those vulnerabilities. Like, for example, I brought this, actually, this is something I keep at home. I am a very, very big believer in that if something's coming at me and I could do the appropriate research, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to find out if there's any way for me to firm up my own vulnerabilities. Like, for example, this was something that we needed an immune system. We needed an immune system to be able to respond. So I had some vulnerabilities there. I assessed them, and I started to bolster them and start to build up and kind of do some patching of where my immune system was weak. And I thought I did a pretty good job. Then I went back in and reassessed where we were at as time's moving forward. Was the data that I was basing my decisions on, was it valid still? Because it was an ever-changing landscape. You'll remember that. And so I wanted to go back in. So I started looking at, like, where were my vulnerabilities external to me consistent. So I looked at COVID stats for the region I was in, because I wanted to know if there was any vulnerabilities by where I live, or the things that are beyond my own control. And I started looking at stats from the region, the area. So there's my own personal, there's the regional external vulnerabilities, and I wanted to continually reassess what the threat was, because I wanted to make sure, again, if I had a pre-existing idea as to what the COVID-19 virus threat was in the beginning, and if that proved to be wrong, I wanted to realign my thinking and reassess my vulnerabilities and start the process pretty much over again. From that, after I assessed what the regional vulnerabilities were and my own personal vulnerabilities, I came up with what was I called my own personal healthcare plan. Now, this personal healthcare plan is a multi-page document, which I actually put together because I wanted to make sure that if I actually got COVID, I wanted to know what I would do. I mean, I didn't want to just hang around and wait to see if I got it. And if I got it, then I would just kind of make it up on the fly. So I knew immediately from the very first day, if I got COVID, I knew exactly what I had to do day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, because I wanted to have that pre-planned so that I wasn't, in case I was sick, too sick to even get things done, that it was all in place. And that's what I did. I had it all in place. I also took a look at if there was any opportunity at that point in time for me to bring in other people and share the information, that share their experiences of when they were sick, because now we were starting to hear of people who were ill around us. So I was gathering data that wasn't just from the sources that I could find online or from medical professionals, but now I had experiential experience. This was an authority that I consider to be quite high, is other people that had experiences. And I got to tell you, there was a mix of some extremely sad stories of some devastating results and impacts to people's health and lives. I know people who actually passed away from this. And then I also heard stories about other people who didn't. And I kind of wanted to keep gathering that experiential information as well, constantly amending and changing my plan. Now, this is where I wanted to kind of then, when the pressure came on for the vaccine mandates and all of that, I wanted to make sure that I was really clear on the vaccine. So I started studying the vaccine, because the vaccine came on the scene, if you'll recall, and they made specific promises. And then I wanted to validate whether those promises were real, or whether, you could trust, how some people say, this is the case, this is the fact of the matter, and can I trust that? Can I actually believe in that? And so I needed to make a decision about that. So I started gathering more data about the vaccine. Then I held the vaccine and the promises and the things that I could, establish as true in my own mind up against my vulnerabilities. And then I made that connection as to whether I was going to get vaccinated or not. And that's how my personal healthcare decision came together throughout this process of COVID. Now, that was all part of an overall personal healthcare plan of mine that I have been living within for my life, all my life. I shouldn't say all my life, because there was a level of irresponsibility when I was young, which I couldn't call that a personal healthcare plan. That was probably a personal destruction plan more than anything. But my personal healthcare plan is something that I am very familiar with. I'm very familiar with my body. As a matter of fact, I know exactly whenever I do get sick with anything, I usually know even before the symptoms, I kind of feel something's going on, and I'm very in tune with my body. So this was something that was very easy for me to manage as my personal healthcare decision with relation to the vaccine within my personal healthcare plan. So it was really something that was very familiar to me. I just wanted to say that is the anatomy of my personal healthcare decision. Now, again, maybe different than yours, but that was the decision that I made. Now, the reason why I think that that's important for me to share with you today is because everybody that you come in contact with has a personal healthcare plan. Now, they may not have a very good one. They may not spend a lot of time working on it, but it belongs to them. It is their plan, and the decisions that they make are theirs as well. The decisions they make are theirs. So now there are people out there that believe that you shouldn't be entitled to have a personal health care plan, that you should not be able to make your own decisions, that it is okay for someone else to make decisions for you because of threats, perceived, I guess, or real. You can determine whether the threats that you are that you believe in are real or perceived, or if it's unproven or proven threats against other people. I mean, all of this is this balancing act, right? I understand that, but the reality is that I am somebody who really was so connected with my own understanding of my own personal healthcare plan, and I understood the risk that I posed to other people, that I was totally comfortable in making whatever decision I made. Which, by the way, you might notice I'm not telling you what that decision is, because it's personal. That's why they call it a personal healthcare plan. And I'm hoping that you give that same level of respect and understanding that I'm not going to ask you what your personal health care plan and details about it, because it's personal. And I hope you give that same respect to other people. So that's why I wanted to encourage you not to actually buy into this really heavily politicized and propagandized thrust forward with this vaccine mandates. Now, it's okay for you to comply if that's what you want to do. It's okay if you want to get vaccinated, all those things. I mean, that's just not my business at all. But I just want you to know something about the vaccine mandates is it's one thing to make your own personal decisions for yourself, but to force someone else to make decisions about themselves, that is a line I dare not cross myself. I don't feel comfortable doing it, and I'm going to encourage you not to do it either. Now, I'm not your father, I'm not your pastor, I'm not your priest or your spouse. I just wanted to say I don't have any authority in your life other than whatever you grant me, but it's an encouragement because I see that there's this tension that's being built in our society because of these mandates, and it's going to cause us a lot of stress, and it's going to be a massive distraction from what it is that we really need to be focusing on. And those are those opportunities where you and I can have influence, where we can speak with a unified voice to the things that we believe in, and we can advance the principles that undergird the 4 pillars. So I'm prayerfully hopeful and hopefully prayerful that you are going to be sharing that same view with me about that importance of those things. Anyway, I thank you so much for letting me share my personal healthcare plan with you and the details that I feel comfortable doing anyway. And I'm hoping that that was helpful for you as well. Well, I'm looking forward to next time we get together. Have a lovely December. This is Christmas time that's coming upon us. I pray blessing over you and your family, and I will continue to pray for this great nation of Canada. Thanks so much for your time today. Bye for now.
Once every year, the 11th month, on the 11th day at the 11th hour, we stand in unity to commemorate the end of World War I and to honor the great sacrifice of those who fought to preserve our freedoms. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row. O Canada, are you still a country worth dying for? Do we honor our fallen heroes? What were their hopes, dreams, and aspirations? Did they believe that we should be free to raise our children the way we want? Did they give their lives to defend our right of belief and freedom of religion? Did they consider Canada to be a place that would protect the citizens, especially the vulnerable? Was freedom truly worth dying for? That we should not be enslaved by massive debt heaped upon our children? Yes, these freedoms were worth dying for. Today, we continue to honor those who serve our country, lest we forget and fall victim to a tyranny that is eager to rise once again. Yesterday's freedoms were worth dying for. Do we now call them privileges only for them to be taken away? Oh Canada, what is freedom worth today? Lest we forget and no longer stand on guard. Do we wear poppy while paving a road of oppression right through Flanders fields? No. We wear poppy because we remember them. We stand with our brothers and sisters in arms, and we honor them by preserving the freedoms that they fought to preserve. World War I was deemed the war to end all wars, but we know this was not the last of wars. To this day, brave men and women take a stand, and we stand with them. We stand on guard with those who choose to sacrifice their well-being to preserve our freedoms. We don't forget why we wear poppy while we're wearing a poppy. We remember. Come on, Canada, now is the time more than ever. Stand up and wear your poppy proud, lest we forget.
Hey, that's fantastic that you are still with us today, because we did finish up a little bit early, but I wanted to let you know there's a reason for that. I've left a little room at the end just for you for sticking around. Now, at the end of that last video that you saw, it said, join us in the war room at warroomcanada.com. You now know that there is a new project that we've got coming up. So look for that in the new year, warroomcanada.com. Feel free to go to the website now. It is up, but we are going to be launching some new campaigns for you there. It's going to be pretty exciting. Now, in the meantime, I also wanted to give you a little bit of a bonus segment, a little Q&A that I did with Petition on Petition's TV show and Franco Terrazzano of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Now, what Petition wanted to talk about was the throne speech. So Franco and I got together with Petition. Now, what I'd like to encourage you to do is just take a look at this Q&A, look to the post-briefing notes, of course, for the whole interview that we did with Faytine, but also take out your iPhone and download Faytine's app, because Faytine.tv is something you can access all the time from your iPhone. And that is, just go to the App Store on your phone, download it, and you're going to have access to her information all the time, all of her shows, all of her programs, and she's got some great ones. So anyway, I hope that's helped. In the meantime, and until next time, enjoy this video, and we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.
Doug, I got to drive to you. So a lot of this, ideologically being hung on, this is going to make things better off for future generations. What's your take on that, Doug?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is their message. The message hasn't changed. We have to remember that this throne speech is the third one that we've seen in as many years. The players haven't changed, as was noted by many on the day of the throne speech. This is just a much of the same. And what this government doesn't seem to mind doing is piling debt upon the backs of our children and future generations. And I had an opportunity to watch some of Franco's stuff, some of his interviews, and pointing out that this is the throne speech that comes right after the government just this past April has announced $100 billion in new spending. So, I mean, this is not a government that appears to be even aware of the fact that you can't just shotgun money out there and spread it around. However, I did notice in the throne speech, they did promise to be more prudent about their spendings, which is, in a throne speech, you're not going to get any details of that, but it doesn't appear that the government really truly understands the burden that is being placed on future generations. So that concerns me a great deal.